Hey, I'm Weekend Gabe, and you're checking out Weekend at Gabe's, and thanks for checking out this latest episode. While you're here, also follow us on these social medias at Weekend Gabe, at Weekend at Gabe's, and also at The Real Sam Crane. Thanks for checking us out. Joining us tonight from California, Mr. Drew Landry, here with us. How
What's
are you?
up, guys? Thank you
How
for
is
having
it
me.
going?
I'm good, man. How you guys doing?
Oh,
Good,
good.
man. We appreciate it so much that you're giving us your time to join us for Thursday Thunnies. You could put this in the back of your pocket at some point. We would love to rename the segment at some point. So if you ever like just thinking about this, like, man, this will be a really great segment I name instead of Thursday Thunnies. We will appreciate that and welcome.
I'll randomly come up with one in like 18 months at 1 a.m. I got it. Who are you again? I'm like, I figured it out.
You would be the first comedian to do it. So far, no one's cracked the code yet.
No one has cracked the code. That's true.
Man. But thanks for joining us, Drew. What drew me to you, no pun, was that I'm a huge follower of DJ Booth, and I noticed that you have like a ton of humor articles pointed up on the site that like make fun of Future's albums, alternate realities of albums that may never come out, including yourself. So like, and you also include hip hop into your stage performance as well. What was your first hip hop memory? Do you remember it?
That's a good question. I remember being a kid, being in maybe like second grade, and it was two albums. It was Eminem Show and Get Rich or Die Trying.
Oh,
And I
yes.
remember hearing Without Me on the radio and hearing In the Club on the radio and just
Yeah.
really wanting the albums because I was just really into those songs and my mom let me get the clean version of the albums. So I listened to both of those on repeat for God knows how long. And then that kind of just got me more into hip hop. This was like in the mid 2000s. So then I got really into Game. I got really into Obi Trice, Lupe
Right.
Fiasco, Immortal Technique, Lil Wayne,
Yes.
and yeah, just became obsessed.
Nice.
Word, man.
What is funny about hip hop? Because you seem to always have a nice spin on it. Is it like do you kind of like look at hip hop sometimes as wrestling? Like these are just characters and everyone sort
It's
of
yeah,
you
in
know
like yeah, because I never wanted to come off like I'm spoofing hip hop because I love it and I respect it. But yeah, hip hop wrestling is a perfect thing to compare it to. It's these really larger than life personalities, and it's like how could you not make this funny? And rap, so much of it, and I mean this in a way that I like. It's a good thing, but it's kind of cartoonish where being so braggadocious, bragging about. One thing that's funny to me is I think rap can be the most insecure art form in that rappers are always bragging about how much sex they have, and I'm like, like if a dude that isn't a rapper is just bragging about all the women he gets, that's an insecure guy. You know what I mean? Like insecure people are the ones that brag a lot about how tough they are, how much women they have sex with, and I just think there's a lot of humor to be found there.
got it.
I actually agree because last night, actually before the show, I did go back after the halftime show had inspired me. I went back and fought with my Alexa for 4 hours to get her to play the explicit version of Get Rich or Die Trying, as opposed to the clean version that you grew up with. I literally had to like get out my phone and my laptop to like configure all this crap. But that was one of the things that like stuck with me. I was like, this is cartoonish and comical. Like looking back on it, because 50 Cent is just an old man who sells vodka now. Like,
but when 50 Cent came out, he was a freaking superhero. He was jacked. He got shot 9 times and survived.
At one point,
he got all the women.
At one point on the album, he says that the bullet hit his molar and he spit it out.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's hilarious. No way did that happen.
He was a superhero. He was so larger than life. I mean, he had the perfect origin story for a rapper. He got shot 9 times and survived, and that really happened. It's like, how can you top that? How can you be a rapper, you survive getting shot 9 times and not become a freaking superhero in your music? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
No, agreed.
So I wanted to joke a little bit around because I was mentioning like you did a alternate universe of rap records, but you listed yourself as someone who may put a record out in his alternate. Does Drew Landry have bars to spit? Because I seen you perform.
Not.
He does not.
You said it took like 8 months to write like 3 bars for your stand up show. So
well, that's two. So in high school, I think, or maybe middle school, like 8th or 9th grade, I tried for a little bit to be a rapper just because I love rap, and I was just not good at it. But I'm proud that I had the self-awareness to know that I was bad at something and that I should just be a fan of it. But yeah, I have a joke. A joke I do a lot is it's an impression of Eminem, long story short. And yeah, I do like this 5-second rap. And it took me, a few minutes to come up with. But then I say, by the way, guys, that rap took me 7 months to write. But no, Drew Landry definitely does not have bars. You wish he does, but he doesn't.
There was another article that I read this morning where you recount celebrities that tried to rap. We talked about Chet Hanks in our news segment before the show. And first off, very complete list. You really dotted all your I's and crossed your T's there. I was wondering what celebrity would you love to see try?
Oh, that's a good question. That is a very good question. Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
I don't know why. I don't have an answer. He's already so absurd, and people kind of moved on from him, and I know he loves attention, so this would be the perfect time to try to start a rap career.
The thing about it is that there are not that many steps from Joaquin Phoenix's rap career to Donald Trump. So that feels like actually quite a close jump. And it's
Joaquin
not.
Phoenix's was it was a hoax, if I remember right. It was for a movie. Right. It was like a Borat type, character prank.
Yeah.
But I remember back when we all thought that was real, and we were like, "What the hell is he doing?"
Man, it's unhinged.
Yeah,
exactly. I'd like to see Samuel L. Jackson do a rap song or like.
I could see that.
And of course, it just has to be titled "Motherfucker" because anything else.
And even if he was bad at it, it would still sound good because it's his voice. You know what I mean?
Speaking of, so what did you think of the Rock's lyrics with Tech 9? Because my son can recite it's my power. It's almost a running joke in the house now.
I adore The Rock. I love The Rock as much as anyone. I thought his rap verse was interesting. That's all I'll say. I thought it was interesting.
Word. We touched a little bit on it. You're an LA guy, or at least you've been out in LA for about 10 years now. You're originally from Baltimore. Let's talk about the most recent LA news. The Rams are champions of the football world. We obviously had a halftime show that was full of rap music. I was curious, what moments stood out to you in that whole thing?
Well, the halftime show, I think, was one of the greatest halftime shows ever. I thought it was incredible. I thought it was perfect. It's interesting because LA, historically, it's not much of a sports town other than the Lakers, but it's definitely not a football town. But then once the Rams got into the Super Bowl, everyone was like, okay, I'm a football fan for just tonight. You know what I mean? Because to me, I'm a casual football fan, but if I'm a Ravens fan, once again, casually, but if I'm watching a game, it's more fun to choose someone to root for. So obviously I chose the Rams because I'm in LA, but people were excited. Like right when they won, you heard fireworks in the neighborhood, all of that. It was a cool night. But yeah, that halftime show was unbelievable. So cool.
Word. Exactly. I noticed I took a trip out to LA in December, and I was riding around town with my girlfriend. And as somebody from the Midwest, obviously we are not the center of hub for fashion. You can see Gabe is dressed like that, and I am dressed like I really want to be a rapper. That being said, we noticed that there was a specific LA vibe, and what we noticed is that LA is trying to bring back two things in particular: wide brimmed hats and leather pants. And I'm wondering if two things. One, if you have noticed the same thing, or if you've noticed anything different about just the LA vibe and the atmosphere as opposed to Baltimore. And also, I'm wondering if you own a pair of leather pants or a wide brimmed hat of some sort.
I'm wearing leather pants right now. There are only two, in my opinion, only two people can get away with leather pants. It's Prince and Eddie Murphy in the 80s. And Prince is dead, and it's not the 80s anymore, so I don't think anyone should wear leather pants. When I see some leather pants, I see some wide-brimmed hats. No, it's interesting. It's hard to describe why, but I'm sure you can agree. LA just has a different vibe, just objectively. Whether you think it's better or worse than wherever you're from, it's just different. When I came here from Baltimore, I came here in like late 2015. There was just a culture shock, but it's difficult to put my finger on what there was a culture shock about. It's just something about it. It's very alive. Everyone here is gorgeous, which is intimidating. Like you get here and everyone here is attractive. You're like, this shouldn't be legal. Like, why is everyone here good looking? But there was a lot of culture shock. I love living in LA mainly because of the weather. Like, I don't want to live anywhere else. I mean, it's February and it was sunny and beautiful today. I think it's the best.
Hell yeah.
I wouldn't. We have a few more minutes with you, but you had wrote something in one of your pieces that I thought was interesting. So to just go into the art of comedy for a moment, it was something you had seen like on the Dave Letterman and Jay-Z interview that they did on Netflix for his show, and just the art of flow and how comedians and artists, they share this this experience. Talk about like how you are able to like adapt and get the move in one with the audience when you're in a groove of some sorts, sharing your jokes, they're laughing, the response is good. Talk about like how that works.
Yeah, well, I compare stand-up to rap because flow and rhythm is a big part of stand-up, to the point where if you're trying to figure out a punchline, you're trying to solve that puzzle, the funniest way to say this, sometimes the amount of syllables is perfect, where it's like, this would be funnier or hit more if there was one less syllable or two more syllables. I don't know why, but it's just how it works. And if you watch certain comics, if you watch Chris Rock, Jerry Seinfeld, Chappelle, whoever, they all have their own very specific rhythm. You know what I mean? Chris Rock will repeat things almost musically to get his point across. Like, men do this, women do this, okay? Men do this, women do. It's a lot of rhythm, and it's almost musical. And I think it's about matching the energy of the audience. And that if it's a small crowd and they don't have that much energy, they seem tired, if you come out and your energy is at 1,000, you're like, what's up, everybody? How's everybody doing tonight? Blah, blah, blah. You're going to look like a moron. Like, it just doesn't fit. And that took me years to learn. I had countless shows where it's just a tiny crowd. It's 11 p.m. They're just tired. It's just low energy. And you want to bring the energy up, but you want to start at their energy. Because think about it, if you're kind of tired or just, not in a talkative mood, and someone comes up to you screaming their opinion or it's gonna be off-putting. You're like, dude, get away from me. But that's
sort of how I feel about Kanye West lately with the all caps Instagram
right?
posts. It's like, dude, it's 11 p.m. Chill. I'm just trying to sleep.
Yeah. Why are you typing in all caps at midnight?
This is unhinged. Yes.
But yeah, it's about matching the vibe of the crowd. The flip side is if they have a lot of energy, then you want to match that energy in your way. There are great comics that are very low energy, like Mitch Hedberg was low energy, but he had great stage presence, and that kind of was his version of matching a crowd's high energy. So yeah, flow and rhythm, energy. I think it's all it's still different from rap, but there's a lot of overlap, in my opinion.
It's cool to hear you say that and break it down in sort of those terms. I've spoken to a lot of live performers, from monologuists to poets to stand-up comedians, and they all sort of say that thing. And to me, it's there is sort of a science to it. And I'm curious if you get into sort of the nuts and bolts, like under the hood of it, or is it just that feeling, that you get when you're on stage? Like, a lot of people do like a lot of quick crowd work to test the energy of the room or something like that. You mentioned Chris Rock with the rhythmic sort of repetition. Is there, like, do you get under the hood as to, like, if something is funny to you, are you like, why is that funny? Like,
sometimes I do. I used to do that more. I found that with me specifically, this is just how I operate. I feel like my comedy is better when I don't overthink it. I used to overthink it more. I used to get into the nuts and the bolt and the science of it and this and that. Why is this funny? And I found that sometimes that would just kind of cloud my head and I'd lose touch of just trying to be funny. So sometimes I'll look into the nuts and bolts, but overall, I think it's funniest when I try not to think about it too much. And especially, when you're on stage doing stand-up, and I'm sure it's the same if you're a musician, a poet, or whatever. It's this weird paradox where you want to be thinking about nothing, but you want to be so in the moment that you can come up with anything on the spot. But you don't want to be. So if I go up thinking about the nuts and bolts of the of whatever, then it might just cloud my head and I won't be as funny. I won't be in the moment. I think it's about doing stand-up long enough that you learn the nuts and bolts enough that they're instincts now, that you don't need to think about them, that you've learned it and you can go on stage thinking about nothing because it's the nuts and bolts. It's a reflex now. It's just part of how you do it. I sound pretentious as hell right now.
No, I was thoroughly intrigued by that because people don't usually, especially audience members, we don't notice, right? Like you're up on stage and you're like, haha, nah, I didn't like that one, or whatever it is. You are judge, jury, executioner. You don't really think about the work that goes into it. And I do think doing this show is interesting to me because we do get to meet all these different people, and there is a certain unilateral rule that I feel like, but I love what you say, that you have to be so very in the moment that that's not something you can think about right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I love it.
But before we get out of here, we have a few minutes. How do you deal with hecklers? This is a question that we often ask our comedian friends, and everyone kind of has like a different position on whether to give them attention or to try to make them just embarrass them so much that they just go away. Well,
I think two things. First off, one thing I've learned when you start doing comedy, there are a lot of mean hecklers, but I'd say 75% of hecklers, maybe even more, they think they're helping you out. Do you know what I mean? Like they're typically not like, fuck you, you suck. They're just like yelling their own joke that they think adds to your joke and stuff like that. But which might be even more annoying in a way. But in terms of a mean heckler, I've had nights where I just go off on hecklers and it riles the crowd up, but you don't want to spend too much time on a heckler. It's like you want to just hit them once. Like they yell something like one insult, but then back to your act. Because I had a night once where I got heckled and I had like 5 minutes left and I spent the last 5 minutes of my act ripping into this guy, like ripping into him, and the crowd ate it up. But then it was the end of my set, and then I was like, that was kind of stupid. I just yelled at a guy instead of doing my jokes. So it's a fine line between shutting them up but then kind of going back to doing your thing, because if you go off on them for 5-10 minutes, even if the crowd is into it, they won because they just made the night about them, and that's what they wanted. Yeah. So I try to just, say one quick thing and then kind of just get back to it,
Yeah. I hear you. You have a show coming up, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's next week at Hollywood Improv.
Yes, I have one at the Hollywood Improv on the 27th, and then I'm starting a monthly show at the Hollywood Improv, and the first one of that show is March 11th, and I'm putting that on with my friend Holly, and that's going to be once a month at the Improv.
Love it. And you can find all of your upcoming shows on your website.
If you want to plug it real quick. DrewLandry.net.
Beautiful.
Man, Drew, I appreciate you giving us some time to talk about your writing experience, your stage experience.
Of course, man.
With us, man. This was really fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me, dude. I appreciate it.
And if at 1 a.m. 18 months from now you do come up with a better title for this segment than Thursday Thunnies, please do reach out to us. One of us will answer that DM.
All right, Drew. Enjoy the
right.
rest of your evening. We appreciate you
You
joining
too.
us.
See you guys. Have a good night.
Have a good one.
Drew Landry joining us tonight. And that's gonna wrap our show. We're in the bank. Sam has to run off to some fancy performance with Lhasa Grandeur, dressed in his finest gear.
In my finest, I wish I was performing tonight gear. You know
You
what I mean?
definitely could be like a backup stage dancer for sure.
Yeah, don't you think? Maybe I should go that. The Kevin Federline route. Maybe that's my route to fame.
Listen, get it how you live. That no one has to be that guy. You can play that role, perfectly.
Man, what a great show. What a great time chopping it up with Air Porter, chopping it up with Drew Landry. If you're watching this on YouTube, please go check out both episodes because this is episode 102. We've done 102 of these damn things. You should go check out some more of them. Check out our channel. And there is only 3 things that we do on this show, Weekend Gabe. What are they?
We share, support, and show love. Hey, I'm Weekend Gabe. Thanks for checking out this latest episode of Weekend at Gabe's. Click on any of the links swirling around my head and also hit the subscribe button while you're here. Thanks for checking out us here on YouTube.